welcome to this episode of Did You Know? My name is Cheryl Collins, and today we're going to be taking a look at Heritage Quest, an online genealogical database with access to over 140 million names. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so here we're looking at the front page of Heritage Quest Online, and from our library's online resources page, you just log in with your library barcode, and this is the page it's going to bring you to. This is the home screen for Heritage Quest Online. And as you can see, there are several different categories to go into. Probably the most popular for most users is the census records that are in here. They do include census images from 1790 all the way up to 1930. 1940 is actually due to be released in April of this year, so stay tuned. It will probably be added at some point this summer or fall into Heritage Quest, so stay tuned for that. It also gives you the opportunity to search through a lot of local history books and also family local histories as well through a lot of book resources that are in here. It also has a unique database called Percy, which is an index of over 2 million genealogy and local history articles. So there's some primary resources in there that may be of interest to you as well. One thing to note about this particular database is that the articles are not full text. So we've looked at a lot of resources that are full text, and you click on the image and get the text right there in front of you. This is just an indexing service. It gives you reference to articles, and we're going to take a closer look at that. It also allows you to search Revolutionary War records, pensions and warrant applications for soldiers who had served in the Revolutionary War. Also Freedmen's Bank, which is a bank that was set up shortly after the Civil War and held accounts for African Americans. So a lot of folks looking for African American genealogy will find some helpful information in there. And then lastly, there's access to the U.S. serial set, and through there there's a lot of resources from LexisNexis and also some congressional records as well that may help in the searching of genealogy. So as I said, there's a lot of jumping off points from this Heritage Quest Online. Probably, as I stated before, the census records being the most popular and most used. So once you click into the census, it brings you to a very simple search screen, and it lists over here the census records that are currently available through this particular database. A very basic search screen is going to give you an opportunity to enter the person's last name, their given name, and then you have the opportunity to search any of the records that might be there, and also in any state that was a state at the time of the current the census that you choose. So in 1790, obviously you wouldn't be able to search Hawaiian records, so just keep that in mind as well. There also is an advanced search tab which lets you enter a couple more variables in your search. Gives you the opportunity to enter the age and sex and race of the person if it's known, also the birthplace of where they were born. So if you know those variables, certainly the advanced search can help in narrowing down your search. And then also if you have knowledge of the U.S. Census, you have the opportunity to enter a search through the roles and pages that are available in the U.S. Census, the actual census rolls. So if you happen to know that and you've done research for a long time, you know that they all come paginated pretty well, and you can search the roles and pages in there. But we're going to take a look at the basic search for now, and I've already prepared. This is a subject near and dear to my heart because I do genealogy quite frequently, so I've prepared a couple searches that we can take a look at. And I have a fellow named George Landers. I know that in the 1920s they were living in the state of Massachusetts. So I'm going to go ahead and click in all those variables and click on search. And what it does is it breaks down the state of Massachusetts in the 1920 census. It breaks it down by county. So it really helps to have an idea of the county that the person is from. We know for a fact that out in Bristol County there is a George Landers, age 59, male, white male, birthplace of Rhode Island, currently living in Raynham, Massachusetts in the 1920 census. So clicking on George's last name will actually bring you to an image of the actual census that was taken. And this is where the strength of this database is. Obviously, it's a very searchable database. But the primary document of the U.S. Census is available to you right here. And it can be a little hard to read. It was taken by hand. There were no computers back then. These were all created by hand, so some of the writing can be hard to get through, whether it be flourished writing or just faded over time. It is hard to see. But if we scroll down a little bit here, we can see George W. and Lillian E. Landers, and they're living in Raynham, Massachusetts in the 1920 census. But it also gives you clues to further genealogical information. We can tell that their ages at this time. We can also tell the year they got married. It also tells you if they spoke English at the time and where they were born, not just them, but their parents as well. The headings are up top on each of the columns, so you can see the person themselves. Then there's information about their father, and then information about their mother, and it tells you birthplaces of those people. So again, getting back one generation, we kind of know where to look for George's parents. Maybe 20, 30 years earlier, they were living in Massachusetts as well. So again, it also leads you to occupational information. The later censuses have that information. Let me find George again. We're back here. George. I seem to have lost them, sorry. But they do, as I said, they do list occupational information over here. And if available, where they were employed, either a business or an agency that they were employed at, it leaves that information too. So from this census record, you can certainly get a lot of information that might get you 1 or 2 generations back in your genealogy searching. So again, this is a lot of information here to have accessible to you, but the primary document of that census record is really what's going to help with getting back in time. So just clicking back a few, if I had left out George and if I had left out 1920 and Massachusetts, I'll show you what it does for there. Now this is searching the name on Landers, any of the census records that are available all over the country at any given time. So clicking on search, you can see what it does. It breaks it down a little bit for us like it did for Massachusetts, but also by the census year. So starting in 1790, there were 34 records of Landers, and here you can expand it by the state. So we can see that it breaks it down by state here where all the Landers were living in the first census of the United States. So this might be helpful too if you're just looking for the last name, any records of the last name, or where they might be distributed throughout the country. And of course things change as time moves on. 1790 is certainly a lot different from 1880. And this is telling me that there's a maximum of 1,000 census records at one time. So there's quite a bit of searching, or there's quite a bit of results here. The best thing to do would be expand it by the state and see if any of those states make sense with your searching or match up with some previous records that you may have. So again, just the basics of searching the U.S. Census. Now one of the things that a lot of folks ask is, can you browse some of the years that appear to be missing over here? The 1830, 40, and 50 records are missing from the searchable database. The answer is you can't search them, but you can browse them. So it's easier to do actually if you know the county and where the person is, and that can be done mostly through the book section here that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So getting to the books will actually provide you with a link back to the census information. So the answer for 30, 40, and 50 in the 1800s, they are not searchable. Those records were destroyed, and they do exist in some form, but not their primary document form. So it's easy to browse them, but again, searching a big city like Boston in 1820 and not knowing where people may have lived, you'll be searching through a lot of records, but it is possible. So that is, as I said, the basic overview of the census information that's available through here. The book interface is set up very simply as well. One of the strengths of Heritage Quest Online is that it's very simple to use. And you can search on 3 different categories here in the book section. People search will give you an opportunity to search on a person's name and place name. Landers in Massachusetts, certainly we can take a look and see what comes up, sticking with the theme of Landers. and do a quick search. And any books that may be out there having to do with landers in the place of Massachusetts, any given time period, it's going to bring back some results of those books. And you can see over here the relevancy is ranked, so this one is a high probability that landers will appear somewhere having to do with Massachusetts. You can get a pretty good idea of what the book's about. There's an author and title and a little bit of information here, but it also lets you view the hits of landers in that particular book. So here on the title page, here in the Daniel family, there may be some intermarrying with the Landers family, and it might be included here. And again, this brings up the primary document. This brings up the actual book. It brings up a photocopy, or it's not a photocopy, but it is a PDF image of the file that exists in this database. So again, this is a full text book, and you not only can jump to the hits that landers may be included, but you can also read it full pages, which can sometimes be a cumbersome thing to do, but it does give you the opportunity to search page by page. If you are reading a particular story, it lets you continue on that way. So that's, again, one of the benefits of, I think, of using Heritage Quest Online. All the tabs are arranged up top, all the categories that we saw at the beginning, all the different places to click into. They are, again, all lined up on top for you, so we can next take a look at Percy. And again, it's set up very similar to what we saw in the books. Allows you to search on people's names, allows you to search on place names, also some how-tos, good articles in here on different research strategies for genealogy. And then you can search a periodical by its title. If you happen to know of a local history or family history periodical by title, you can search that way too. But again, just giving a general overview, we'll click on people here. And we'll take a look at landers again. Searching something like Smith or Jones may take quite a few results. So we're searching landers, and again, we'll stick to Massachusetts and see what kind of information we get. Whoops. Try Nova Scotia. And this is international in scope, so there will be some other countries in here as well. And you can see here that there's an article in, let's see, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada. This is, again, not full text. The periodical is called Historiogram, and it's from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia in April 2005. It talks about the lander's surname, so certainly this may be of interest if my search leads me to these particular years up here, and it might be worth taking a look at if I'm so interested. But as I said, this just gives you access to the index of that article, so you wouldn't be able to get the full text. There is an opportunity to complete a request form, and you can request it be sent to you. There, of course, there is a charge, and this Percy database will, it's located at the Allen County Public Library in Indiana, and they will send you a copy of the article for a charge. So again, this is just going to point you in the right direction for those particular articles that are there. It is not a full text database, but still worthy to have access to it. Clicking on to the Freedmen's Bank, I don't think Landers is going to be in there, but I believe the name Jones will be. It also gives you an opportunity to choose on the exact spelling or something that's called Soundex. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Soundex, it's an index that, it's a database that's created for names that sound alike. So while Jones may not be the exact spelling of something, we may have things that are very similar to it in spelling and also in sound. So this Soundex index takes care of those similarities and those things that may be overlapping. So I'm just going to stick with the name Jones. There is an application year. It is just 1865 through 1874. So leaving it at all will probably give you a better return. And then there are several bank locations throughout the country at that time. So again, we're going to leave it set to all, thinking that there's going to be more returns on Jones. Just want to show you what a particular record will look like. And then James come in as well. So you can see a long list here. There's over 4,000 names, folks with the surname of Jones. And also we're getting, Jones we searched, we're getting James as well. So again, that Soundex is coming into play. And just clicking on a random record just to show you what it looks like. Again, it's a scanned image, so it's the exact copy of what we're seeing from that primary document. And again, it's all handwritten, so it may be difficult to read, but with some effort you can certainly make out what it's saying here. And that there's an account set up in this fellow's name here in, I think it was Wilmington, North Carolina. So again, that might give you some helpful information if you're searching on an Andrew James and your genealogy leads you here. A lot of the information that you get from here might make sense and might contribute to your research that you have. So certainly worth taking a look at. And then moving on to the Revolutionary War, something very similar to the Freedmen's Bank. This is a database of pensions and grants that were made to soldiers after the Revolutionary War. So having searched on my own personal name one time, we did come up with a few names that were in there. And again, if you had a specific name, you could certainly enter it here, choose a state, and then choose the various services that were available too. But just clicking on Collins, or entering Collins and then clicking search, just to give you an idea of what the records look like. There were quite a few entries, again 146 with the surname of Collins. So we will take a look at George down here in the state of Virginia. And up comes his pension record. And it happens to be a blank one, might be the wrong George. Let me take a look to see if there's another one. Maybe it was Henry. Now again, this, even though they're blank and they don't have much information, this is going to give you some information that he did indeed serve in the Revolutionary War in this time period. So there were quite a few blanks here. I'm not sure why, but those, again, it's just going to kind of point you in the right direction. If your search leads you to this time period, and he was a male soldier at the time of the Revolutionary War, it's certainly worth checking here. So that will give you some more information to go on. Now, a lot of the information that we found here today is certainly printable. You can search and then print as well, certainly from home. The records don't print out as large as we'd like them to. As I said, they are primary documents and they're not always the easiest to read. Okay, so from the census records themselves, getting back into the 1900 census here, and clicking on a census record, you do have the opportunity to print any records that you find here. Again, the printing may be somewhat hard to read, but that's because the original is hard to read. So it is hard to improve upon something that we don't have control over. This is a replica of what you see from the actual census record. There is also the opportunity to download it. I believe it is compatible with a lot of different genealogy softwares. And so in creating your tree, you can have this primary document and add it to your collection. There is also the negative. If you click on the negative button, it changes the way it comes up, which for some folks might be easier too with the dark background and the white print. It might be easier to pick up on some of the writing that way. And then the opportunity is always there to zoom in a little bit as well, which I have to make note that it enlarges it on your screen, but when you print it, the enlargement doesn't come through. So you're going to get that original 100% copy when you print. Increasing the size is only going to increase it on your screen, so that's something to make note of too. So again, this is just a very basic overview of Heritage Quest Online. Any of these categories up here we can certainly spend quite a bit of time on and finding some of the nuances of each. But we hope you'll give it a try, and feel free to give us a call with any questions. Thanks for watching this episode of Did You Know? And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to call us at the reference desk, 860-763-7511, or you can email me directly at cbcollins@enfield.org. Thanks again for watching.